This video is going to be about intermolecular forces. So the goals of this video is to understand the differences between intramolecular and intermolecular forces. We are going to compare and contrast the intermolecular forces of hydrogen bonding, dipole and dipole bonding, and electrostatic attractions. And then we're going to compare physical properties of ionic and molecular compounds using intermolecular forces. So let's go over intramolecular forces. So these are forces that hold a molecule together. Intra means within the molecule. So these are our strongest forces, and they're with ionic and covalent bonds. Next we have intermolecular forces. So these are forces between molecules that allow them to interact with each other. Inter meaning between. So this is used for hydrogen bonding, dipole-dipole attractions, electrostatic attractions, and it's weaker in comparison to intramolecular forces. So, hydrogen bonding. Hydrogen bonds are strong dipole-dipole interactions that occur when hydrogen is attached to a very electronegative atom, such as fluorine, oxygen, or nitrogen. As a result, the electronegative atom takes most of the electron density and becomes partially negative. This leaves hydrogen with a partial positive charge. This partially positive hydrogen is able to have electrostatic interactions with other partially negative F, O, or N atoms of neighboring compounds. So dipole and dipole interactions are found in polar solid and polar liquid compounds. It's the rearrangement of a positively charged end of one molecule in a way that it moves closer to the negatively charged end of another molecule. This occurs between polar molecules, as we mentioned, and it's weaker than hydrogen bonding. Next we have London dispersion forces, also called van der Waals forces. These are the weakest interactions of all and occur in all compounds. Dispersion forces arise when the electron density between two atoms becomes unequally distributed for a very brief moment, resulting in an instantaneous dipole moment in a molecule that doesn't have dipoles. These short-lived dipoles induce short-lived dipoles in other neighboring molecules as well, in a chain reaction. Generally, the number of dispersion forces increases as a molecule gets larger. So why are forces important? Well, they determine the chemical and physical properties of compounds. Today we're just going to talk about some of the physical properties. So the main two that we have today are boiling point and melting point. So boiling point is the temperature at which a compound changes from a liquid to a gas, and a melting point is the temperature at which a compound changes from a solid to a liquid. So a low melting or boiling point means that small amounts of kinetic energy are enough to break the particles apart. Therefore, the forces between the particles are weak. Whereas a high melting or boiling point means that a lot of energy is needed to break away the particles. Therefore, the forces between the particles are strong. So, for ionic compounds, electrostatic attractions between ions is very strong. So if we're using NaCl, for example, a sodium ion is strongly attached to all the chlorine atoms next to it. So this crystal is very stable. So for polar molecular compounds, the attractive forces of dipole and dipole interactions is strong, but it's not as strong as electrostatic forces between ions that we talked about earlier. And if hydrogen bonds are present, the boiling and melting point can be even higher. So for non-polar molecular compounds, they don't have any strong attractive forces, and they only have dispersion forces. So remember, these forces are temporarily created by attraction of the nucleus to the electrons of other molecules. And this is the weakest type of molecule.